Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you here on this Monday night, about 9:30. We're going to talk about the risk of tornadoes, believe it or not, coming in for tonight. So make sure you like and share this video, reshare it on your wall right now as we speak, so all your friends and family on Facebook, etc. can see what you're watching, and they can get the scoop on what's going to happen here for the remainder of tonight into early tomorrow morning. And then also take a little sneak peek what's coming our way in the form of winter weather. If you read my blog from the weekend, from the last night of this morning, you kind of got the early scoop as to what's coming our way. We'll take a look at that and see what we can find in the details that may interest you as well. So thanks for joining me out there on YouTube land. I see you guys already checking in. Jody's got you under control as well. She's in there having a good conversation with you as always. Twitter, good to see you there. Also, looking forward to seeing what Elon Musk does with that platform as far as the broadcasting side of things, since they kind of took away the Periscope. So I'm hoping they will be developing the live aspect more, or more interaction, kind of like you can do on Facebook and YouTube and etc. Rumble, also, you guys are out there, so thanks for watching. And on Facebook. Speaking of which, Facebook, I will post the link right here in the comment section. So if you're having tough time or trouble getting notified when I do go live, just hit that little link and I will send you a direct notification when I do. That way you don't miss anything. All the other platforms, same idea. You kind of subscribe and then you tap the bell or the option to get notified. And then usually that takes you and gets you taken care of. All right, with all that housekeeping done, looks like the numbers have gone up, so that means more people have joined in. So let's get on with the program, shall we? All right, I'll tell you what, I'm so sick of this dreary Seattle weather, man. Oh, I got 53 degrees on my Tempest weather station here in my backyard. Yeah, no rainfall today officially, but it's the drizzly rain here in my house. You know, the foggy, drizzly, just it doesn't really quite add up anything. We did see some scattered showers around, just none of them hit my particular location. Promo code, by the way, AT's weather. But if you go to my website, aarontuttle.com, and you click on the store tab, or you can use that QR code, it'll take you to where you can get a discount on a Tempest that's even higher than my usual one because of the holidays. So check on that if you're interested for a little Christmas gift. Okay, so let's see. Out there right now, like we mentioned, it's cloudy skies, dreary, etc., etc. Blah, 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 right? Okay, so let's take a look first off. The big picture here on the radar view across Oklahoma. It's just some scattered showers, really light stuff that's moved on into Kansas. That kind of drifted through Oklahoma earlier today. But if you look out here in this little yellow zone, you see this little kind of yellow county outline extends from Woodward to Alva, Medicine Lodge, and Pratt. This is a new tornado watch that encompasses northwest Oklahoma. And we do have a couple of severe weather storms out here. And these actually are tornado-warned storms. In other words, there's been rotation within both of these storms. One going just south of Beaver and then one going northwest of Laverne, moving to the north and east. And they have the potential for producing tornadoes. So yes, we can get tornadoes this time of the year. There's another close-up view of that. So right now, this storm over in Beaver County, moving just past Balco and between there and Elmwood. This rotation with it, probability of a tornado is pretty low. It's only like 12%. But it did have 2.5-inch diameter hail. That is ping pong to tennis ball size hail while coming out of that storm. So yes, this time of the year, we can get severe weather, believe it or not. Yes, you can get tornadoes. Yes, you can get big hail. And yes, you can get damaging wind. This one up here around Gate, moving to the north and east from there. Probability of a tornado, let's see, is around 15%. The last update to now 16%. So it has changed a little bit, just barely. But again, on the low side. But it may not have to have a high probability number to actually produce something. If we look at the wind in there, as far as any tight couplets go, I don't see them currently. Broad rotation on this one around Elmwood and just really weak stuff here. But again, the tornado warning storms that could happen during their life cycles, they continue to press into southwestern Kansas. So if you guys live around Clark County, Comanche County here in Kansas, heads up, use my weather app. It's called AT's Weather to Go. It is free, Apple, Google Play. It will predict these tornadoes and let you know well in advance if they are heading your direction. All right, now let's move along to what else we got going on for the big picture for the remainder of tonight. Let's see. First things first, you can see temperatures in the mid-50s in red. That's our actual air temperature with a southeast wind here across a good chunk of the state. That's pumping a little bit more of that moisture, which not like we really wanted that, right? If we do look at the severe weather risk for the remainder of tonight into tomorrow morning, and if we take a look at it, it's the yellow area for the categorical is out here across, say, western Kansas. Let's see, right here into western half of Oklahoma, and then dips down into northwestern Texas and just the eastern Texas panhandle. This is a slight risk of severe weather, and this is the tornado ring, which is a 5% ring. So in other words, the 2% is the green area. It's usually kind of like the little CYA chicken hatch, just because we can't quite rule it out. It's not quite zero. It could be a freak occurrence, but we're going to step above that category to like, yeah, we're probably going to get a couple of tornadoes. It's not a big deal, but there are going to be a couple of them in this area here in the brown. Wind also in the docket here for tonight through early tomorrow morning, and hail as well. Now this is just through the, what do we call it? Let's call it like 7 a.m. hour, something like that. The issue is because we've got the next day, all right, because the storms won't stop. They'll keep going on into the morning hours. So if you kind of extrapolate all that mess, you now have your risk east and half of Oklahoma and into Dallas-Fort Worth, and points into Dallas and out toward Shreveport, down into Louisiana for a enhanced risk of severe weather. And they're going to produce a tornado ring down here at the Storm Prediction Center, a little higher amount in eastern Texas and a good chunk of Louisiana. The brown area, though, the 5% ring does cover in Arkansas, about the southern half, in the southeastern quadrant of Oklahoma. So pretty much right along I-40 and along I-35 and on down to Dallas and Waco, and looks like even Houston. So a pretty large area of a few tornadoes in this region. So that's your heads up. That's your 24 hours severe weather threat for the remainder of tonight and tomorrow. So yes, be some wind within that and also some hail. So again, repeat. All right, now let's take a look at some details here. First thing I'm going to do, we're going to give you the timeline of the storms for tonight. I think that's probably the first thing you're probably going to want to know is, all right, when they moving in, when they moving out, and we're going to go to the high resolution short-term model that we have. This would be what we call the best model typically. They're always vary, but it does a pretty good job. All right, for this kind of stuff. 11 o'clock to midnight tonight, it does fire off that broken line of showers and storms here, crossing the border into Oklahoma by 1 o'clock in the morning. This does not include, of course, those rogue storms already ongoing across far northwest Oklahoma, the Panhandle. This is the secondary line that'll be forming on. There's 2 o'clock in the morning. Here's 3 o'clock from Lawton to basically Enid, west sides of Oklahoma City. 4 o'clock moving through Oklahoma City and along the I-35 corridor back down toward Lawton and Wichita Falls area. Is if we head into the next slot of time, 5 o'clock in the morning. So if you're an early riser and you maybe got to hit the road, you're going to run into some showers and storms between the 4 and 5 o'clock hour. They will continue up to the north on down south, just now approaching Tarrant County. So headed to the 6 a.m. hour, they're finally out of Oklahoma City metro area. So if you're going to be heading off to work late, good news for you, you can miss out on the rough stuff line of showers and storms. Could be some accidents around, though, as a result of that. We'll see. Dallas-Fort Worth also getting those storms at that point in time. And then here's 7 o'clock in the morning, again, continuing through Tulsa. So from 6 to 7 is the heaviest in Tulsa. Extend down to McAllister, Sherman, Plano, and again, Dallas region on into Rockwall in North Texas. And let's see, there's 8 o'clock in the morning, starting to wrap up in Tulsa. So by 9 o'clock, still some lingering showers, but otherwise pretty much drying out. And then all the heavier stuff is now progressed from Miami through Muskogee, east of McAllister, down to Paris, again, Rockwall, and then that extends one more hour over. There's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and there's noon, just about out of the state. And then that will continue to progress into Arkansas for the rest of the day, eastern Texas the rest of the day, and Louisiana for the rest of the day. And that's where it'll take that severe weather risk along with it. Now, we do have some severe weather parameters that we can look at. Now, remember, we have kind of a situation where the winds are probably going to be gusting at times up to around 60, potentially, especially in the eastern half of Oklahoma. Pockets of wind up to around 70 miles per hour. So the wind threat will actually be higher in the eastern half of the state versus the western half. The hail threat is probably going to be higher in the western half versus the eastern half, and it's not that great, but it'll be there. And then the tornado threat, it's kind of a mix. Let's show you that. Let me show you what I mean here. We're going to look at the updraft helicity, and we'll just look at here at the HER. All right, and we're going to show you the takeaway. So the takeaway of this is, all right, so for one, this is the rotation of the atmosphere, okay, or in the storm, right? This is where the storm rotates. So the stronger the color you see on the map, the stronger the rotation within that storm that can then produce a tornado. So it kind of favors where it thinks potentially tornado-producing storms would track. Well, obviously, if you look up here to the northwest, hey, did a pretty good job at least getting the general area, right? We got a couple of storms already kind of in this data showing up. So that's at least some signs that it has somewhat of a clue as to what's going on. Now, but if you do look here, we have these little streaks here in southwestern Oklahoma, right here in Oklahoma City metro area. There's one there, there's one there. And then we've got others, get off of that thing, down in here in North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. So the point being is, as far as potential tornadoes are concerned, the greater threat is probably, again, something like this, all right, in this region here for the rest of tonight. So it does include Oklahoma City, does not include Tulsa in the morning, does include, say, Ardmore and down toward Dallas, and does include Lawton. So that's kind of your threat mainly for a low-end tornado. And we're not talking about a strong that's going to do a lot of damage. We're talking about a weak one, short-lived, probably pretty fast-moving. But it is what it is, and it would be overnight. Of course, it's not the best time. Still, of course, the sirens will sound from emergency management if that were to happen in your area. The emergency crew will be watching the radar along with the National Weather Service. Again, my weather app can help you out with that. Get a no weather radio if you have it. Turn it on. If it's not, if it's not already ready to go, because maybe you turned it off, right? You thought severe weather season is over. So what are we gonna do? Well, turn it back on at least for tonight. And again, this Oklahoma City, your window is from 3 to like 5 o'clock in the morning, from this activity moving in from west to east. We do look at other models. By the way, this is the tech model for wind gust. I kind of want to show you just focus on the brighter colors here in this region. This is I-35 corridor. So this is where these brighter little pinks start to show up there. You see how kind of bright they are? So that means the better winds in the model data for gusty damaging winds is the eastern half of the state versus the west. So the west doesn't have just a couple of isolated areas. It's mainly an eastern Oklahoma thing for as far as damaging wind goes. As we talked about, here's another kind of a, I think I wanted to show this as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I looked at earlier today. Let's do this. Updraft helicity. Kind of give you an idea, this model is also seeing this kind of region up here into southwest Kansas and northwestern Oklahoma for that. And those other little areas there's southwestern into central Oklahoma. It's a little batch here. And that kind of zips through. Then here's another little hint down here in south central Oklahoma and north Texas. So each the models will be all a little bit different on what they see. And you can see as they go through time. So here's tomorrow afternoon. So you watch how they kind of move through eastern Texas, northeastern Texas. There's some here in south central Arkansas, northwestern Louisiana, and there you go. So again, it's not a huge signal. It's just a weak signal. But this time of the year, I'm not surprised that that's kind of the only signal you're going to get. If we do look at another model for that, same idea with the helicity tracks. See how they're clustered across the area I'm showing you here. So I've shown you a few different models, just kind of give you an idea. That's the most favorite area if anything's going to happen. Okay. So that's kind of the way we're at with severe weather for tonight. And after that, is it going to snow, Aaron? Is that your question? So let me answer that. Answer is yes. Where is it going to snow? That's the tricky part. When is it going to snow? It's even a trickier part. But let's take a look at what the data starts to allude to. Okay, we're going to look at a couple of the long-range models on the perturbation stuff. So I'll flip through. Let's do this one first. Okay. This is the European model. So each one of these are your ensemble members of it. So in other words, there's like 50 different runs. They push it 50 different directions. All right. And a lot of these have this signal for snow. Now, some vary from, couple of dusting basically. To some, there's 5 inches, 6 inches, 5 inches. So in other words, there is a pretty substantial signal here in the model data. Now, the question is when. Now, here's a little weak signal starting up here on the 18th. There's a better signal in the model data for the European on the 22nd, and another one on the 25th around Christmas, and another one on the 27th. So there's the almost every 2 days. So it looks like 22nd, 25th, 27th of snow signals. Now, it's noise in the data, all right? In other words, it's latching on or trying to latch on. There's something there. It's just what? What am I trying to get at? If we look at the GFS version, the American version, same kind of idea. It does detect a few of its runs of some snow in the data. So we do have a couple of our big models that do say in that time frame from around the 19th of December, this one even goes to the, I think, 17th, through December 22nd when this one cuts off. Doesn't quite go as far. But there is some signal in the data that, yeah, looks like we're going to get some snow across Oklahoma. And I just picked Oklahoma City for the center part because that was kind of an interesting part of it. Now, if we look at a top-down view and go, okay, let's just have a fantasy map, because everybody loves fantasy snow maps when they're 2 weeks out. We'll show you what the newest version of the American model, this is the experimental version. It's got 4 to 5 inches of snow here in Oklahoma City, for example, here just southwest of town, and then eastern Oklahoma, there's a pocket of 6 south of Tulsa, around Okfuskee County. So there you go. So there's an idea of what potentially could happen. Now this is not my official forecast. I'm not telling you it's going to snow 6-7 inches of in eastern Oklahoma on the 20th. Let me go look at the dates. We'll look at the date here in a second. I'm just telling you that the model data right now, it keeps trending that direction. So let's show. What do I want to go here? Let's do. I'm trying to figure out where was I? Where was my data? I think it was this one. Yeah. So we're gonna go back to this one. We're gonna go to the big picture. All right. So let's just go national, and we shall go to the fantasy model. I know. Why not? If we're gonna talk snow. Most of that's fantasy, so you might as well go with the fantasy model. All right, here's the American model. All right, we got, of course, the big storms for tonight, for tomorrow, moving out. Big snow across the northern plains behind it. The surface low is too far north from us to give us anything good. That moves into Canada. All right, now, here's where things get interesting. Big, massive surface high builds across northwestern Canada, and it starts to come southward. And so what happens here... Get this guy. So these little isobars that are surrounding it indicate where the pressure changes, and it stops right here. So this is technically our cold front, and this stuff just keeps piling in, getting colder and colder, coming in right across the Rockies. So it's a great trajectory for us to getting some really nasty stuff when it comes to cold air usually. Okay, so the front comes in. This is, by the way, the 19th. So that's when this Arctic air would move through, according to this model anyway. That's Monday the 19th. Now, if you do look at here, you see a plethora of rain across Texas. There's Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma. And there's a wintry mixed signal on the I-44 corridor. What that means is a bit of rain, freezing rain, sleet, snow. And then back north and west of that, some snow. As we go through time, in the midday, it changes over to all snow here in central Oklahoma northeast, and all of a sudden it's got a big winter storm on its hands, and it's going crazy on the 19th. And then that thing moves out, and that's why it produces almost, half a foot of snow. Now, that thing moves off, and then it's gone. The big high pressure builds in. There's other little signals here. There's some blue showing up, again, for some light snow on the 22nd, 21st. There's that surface high that, again, moves in there as well. Kind of get reinforcing highs that come in this pattern. And then there's another little batch of snow that shows up there on the 27th, it looks like, that comes through. So the point is not to take home for the specific exact dates. The point is the signal is there because the pattern is favorable for these little surprise events that come in. So what does that look like? So in the jet stream pattern, what we want. Okay, so here's a big. Remember, the brighter the colors represent the stronger lift in the atmosphere. So if you've watched me long enough, you should pick this out on your own. You should be a backyard meteorologist at this point. So these are our upper level lows that bring us the storm systems, like the one we're having for tonight and tomorrow. So that little batch moves through. Okay, the northern plains. Look how that zips on by. All right, now what happens after that is this thing just kind of sits here and spins. Okay, so it just stays like this. And what happens is that forces this jet stream pattern to kind of come in down like this and then come through. And you get a little southern branch right here that comes in. So this is the northern branch and this is the southern branch. And you got to watch the southern branch. These little guys right here that come in the flow, sometimes they can zip along after you get the cold air that comes in. Okay, so that's kind of the flow. And this is, again, with the 17th. Let's go on forward from there, see what happens. Oh, look at that little guy in the southern branch. You see that? That's not bad. That's a nice little winter storm maker right here. So this little mini low, not quite as strong as that big one we talked about, but this little mini low is enough to squeeze out typically some snow. So what we have to watch for in this pattern are these little lows that will just zip on through and they zip on out. And all that while this pattern up here, the north, go back here right there. This pattern up here, the north, again, kind of this is more of a zonal flow at this point. It's better to keep more of a northerly flow, but you can't usually have it both ways. You can't have a strong northwest to southeast flow and get an upper level low. So at some point, the pattern has to buckle to where you get a zonal flow briefly to allow these guys to come in off the west coast to give us some snow, and then it can buckle back to a stronger north flow and you get more cold air intrusion, and then rinse repeat. And as long as we're in that kind of rinse repeat pattern, you can look for some more snow. So let's see here. So there's that northwest flow. I've gone through, now we're on the 22nd of the month. See, I went back to a northwest, so that zonal flow's over. So that reinforces cold air. Now you can get sometimes we call them a clipper system, usually in the northeast, but they can occur here in the plains. That can usually give you a little bit. Let's see. And then what happens after that? Now there's a lot of these little clipper systems coming off the Rockies here, and because they're riding up over that ridge in the western coastline. There's another one there through the 27th. And look at it, wraps up into an upper level low right on top of us. So it's a very active pattern. It's a very chaotic pattern, and it'll be one that'll be difficult to forecast long term for exact specifics. So you're going to have to kind of take it week by week, in some cases 5 days at a time, just because it's too chaotic and to get details going to be difficult to do. But the general consensus is it's going to be cold and we have some opportunities for snow. Okay, so how cold is it going to be? Well, if we just take a look at the model blend, look at the 40s for daytime highs for the next several days after tomorrow, and because the front will come in for tomorrow night and Wednesday morning, and then we start getting cold at night. We get to the 20s, and then we're into the teens as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from December 21st to the 23rd. Daytime highs are into the 20s at that point in time. So this is a model blend that goes out to about that far. Now, if you want some fun stuff, this is not guaranteed, but just to kind of give you an idea, potentially, how cold we're talking. So once we get past that that colder model blend, the single model, the American model, does this little number to us. And it gets us into the single digits. So it's an outlier, a really big outlier. But it just shows you potentially what could happen, if this model were to verify. But unfortunately, its track record is so horrid. It's hard to, put a whole lot of weight behind it other than trends. It can pick up on a trend early. That's fine. But the actual numbers will never verify. But it's fun to see. And so when you're looking at a morning low of, 1 degree on Christmas Eve, that's pretty impressive. And then Christmas Day has got us back in, spending most of the day to the 20s. So we'll see what happens in this little period of time. There's a lot of room for movement in the temperatures. There's a lot of room for movement in the way of precipitation and some snow. So we're going from talking about tornadoes tonight to maybe a snowstorm, toward Christmas week. And it looks pretty active, like I said, through the end of the month, along with that cold pattern sticking around through the end of the month. So if you like that kind of stuff, I got great news for you. If you don't like it, well, wait till next year. Maybe it'll warm back up after the first of the year. All right, so that's what I had here for you tonight. It was a lot to talk about because, hey, you know what? I'm glad we finally had some decent weather to discuss, so it was good. Be checking in with you guys here on YouTube. Let me look at some of your comments here real quick. Da-da-da. Oh, Christopher Hubbard is up there in Wisconsin is already getting pumped because of some snow up in his area. Let's see. Thanks, Mr. AR-15. Appreciate you. So I was in Tishomingo, Blue River area over the weekend. I was doing some camping with some buddies of mine. And we were talking about guns because that's what guys do when they get together. They pull the old Tim Allen, man's man stuff. Anyway, and so we were making a joke of sometimes how the media doesn't even know how to talk about guns, and they'll call it like an AR-14. What is that? Just because they don't know what they're talking about. So, and these are law enforcement guys that I'm with, and so it's just a joke. But anyway, that your name made me think of that. That was pretty funny. All right, inside joke. Okay, so let me go to YouTube or Facebook here real quick. All right, so on the can you summarize Oklahoma City? Alejandra wants to know. So yeah, you're gonna get some storms moving through. Same thing, Shelby, for Lawton. Right around the 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock window. And some of those, potentially, believe it or not, could produce tornadoes. It would be weak, short-lived, but needless to say, they could be there. Let's see, Whitney, is this going to possibly be like the winter storm of 2009? Boy, wouldn't that be something? Are we long overdue for that one? Man, that was one for the record books. Man, I would like to see some snow, so I'm just saying. I know a lot of you don't because you're like traveling. It's like, I don't want that mess. But good news is typically snows don't last too long around here. Although when you're locked into a weather pattern like that doesn't really give any way, it sticks around a lot longer. So if it does snow, it won't go away this time around. Let's see. By the way, thank you for the stars tonight on Facebook. Always appreciate those. I appreciate you guys, by the way, leaving the comments and chatting amongst yourself. Let's see. So I remember that snowstorm in '09. That was crazy. It was like I think I had a picture of me and was it 3 feet of snow or 4 feet of snow? It was ridiculous. That's all I remember. It was up to my chest, and I was like, I can't believe this actually happened. That was fun. We need another one of those. You're welcome, Philip. I appreciate that. I guess big shoes to fill, Mr. Don Woods up there in Tulsa. So we've had a lot of weather icons in this state, obviously. So Don Woods, definitely one of them. Gary England, another. I could only dream of filling those shoes on both ends. I am doing something, or started something different that, pioneer-wise, that no one's done. I was the first to do all this live streaming in Oklahoma for weather coverage and then severe weather coverage and forecast discussions. So back in 2010 on social media. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Wikipedia will put something on there about me if it's positive. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else. Let me, for those folks that were really, really late and missed the whole thing, I'll give you like a 1-minute recap here for Oklahoma City area, what's coming and the timing. So let me load that up. All right, so let's go back to our super duper high res model, and let's put on the storms, and then we'll get the timing. Oh, I know I wanted to show you. This is actually pretty cool. Okay, so anyway, so here we go. There's a big line of storms that comes in. So this is after midnight here, 1 o'clock in the morning. Broken line of thunderstorms out in western Oklahoma. Those will then move eastward. So by 3 o'clock in the morning, they're already starting to move into the western sides of Oklahoma City through Canadian County, Newcastle, Tuttle, Blanchard, Lawton, Enid, that kind of deal. And then 4 o'clock in the morning, running through the I-35 corridor, running from north to south through the state. That continues through about 5 o'clock in the morning here in the metro, from Norman to East Side, Tinker, etc., up toward Guthrie and Stillwater. And then from there, it moves into Tulsa at 6 a.m. It's out of Oklahoma City at that point in time. Continues down south into Ardmore and then down to North Texas and Dallas, etc. And also continuing to go on to about 7 o'clock through Tulsa before things start to wind down there. And then it starts to continue to move into eastern and southeastern Oklahoma. There's 9 o'clock in the morning, Muskogee to McAllister to Paris. And then from that point forward, next couple of hours, it slowly exits the state and takes any of that weather with it. Eastern half of the state, better opportunity for pockets of damaging wind up to around 60 or so miles per hour. And that's along the I-35 corridors. That could include Oklahoma City Metro and then points to the east. Hail, better probably the western half of the state tonight. And then tornadoes kind of in the, it's complicated. But let me outline it again here for you, the best region. It's only these little, what we call them helicity tracks here. That's just kind of where things are more favorable to have something in this area is how we're going to kind of summarize it. So kind of in this zone is what we're talking about, is where the better potential, we're seeing a potential tornado tonight. So that includes pretty much all of western Oklahoma along the I-40 corridor and down to 44, down to 35, and on to North Texas and Dallas-Fort Worth. Oklahoma City is just kind of right on the northern fringe here. And then, of course, northwest Oklahoma this evening, where they already have a couple of tornado warnings. And as we mentioned earlier, those were in effect up here. One's now moved into Kansas. The warning on it has expired. The other one continues over here in Beaver County. Probably the tornado's actually gone up to 57%. When I first started, I think it was like at 12%. Let me see, look at the data here. Yeah, so got a really nice couplet within that. Let's see here. Yeah, so really nice couplet here in Beaver County there for a couple of scans. This is south of any major towns at that point in time. We'll be making its way on to 64 between McCain and Knowles here soon. But the good news is any looks like tragic potential that was once there has weakened quite a bit. But you still want to take shelter. Let me see if I can see if anything was damaged in that region. Let's do this. So there's a pretty good low correlation coefficient, but I'm not sure that's co-located with what I need to see. Yeah. Sorry, I have to think about this for a minute. I don't see any huge, strong indication that that's directly related to potential touchdown. It may be. I have to go check the chat from that weather service, see if anything was reported. Sometimes you get some erroneous data mixed in this area. It's in about the right area. The problem is there's some really bad noise already in here for some radar artifacts, so it's kind of contaminated the first part of this data. So the latter part may be okay. The first part was suspicious. So I'd spend some more time on that. But regardless, potential tornado up here in this area of the state, and the one up here into Kansas. Looks like the hook is regenerated here, south of Sitka, south of Ashland. Let's see. Scan before that wasn't as impressive as the scan is now. So this is probably a bona fide tornado. Let me see if nothing on the ground as far as damage goes at this point. And we look underneath it. The location of this guy is over a lot of open tree land, forest land. So I call it forest land. This is the forest. These little lines of trees here. So in other words, there's nothing out here. It's flat land, I should say. with a few trees, and that's it. So there's no houses or farmhouses or anything at the current time that this storm is under. So that's always good news. So I always like to see when these things develop on the radar, if they're over any populated area for one, obviously, if they're over anything at all for two. And the majority of the time when I do this, when we look underneath the storm at the ground, we see a lot of trees, or we see this farmland, right? Pastures, and that's it. And so that is the best news I have for you, is that Oklahoma's a big state, Kansas is a big state, and tornadoes are very tiny, very small, and most of the time they're out in the middle of nowhere, bothering nobody. So that's good news for that one. But anyway, so that's the tragic storm up here in the southwestern Kansas. So they're moving up toward protection here soon, passing on the east side of Ashland. So what happens is, in this case, in any case, by the way, for tonight, early tomorrow morning, let's say you're asleep, your weather radio goes off, or my weather app that you got on your phone goes off, and it says, hey, twisting storm alert, the tornado warning alert, whatever. So what do you do? Same thing as always, and I run at the bottom of this screen every time, and the advice never changes, which is always getting the most center part of your structure, your home, lowest floor, and away from all outside walls and windows. That's the very first step. Then this depends on your preference as to where you want that to be. Do you want it to be in a bathroom? You want it to be in a closet, under a stairwell? Any of those will do, as long as they're toward the center part of your home. And maybe have some surrounding walls, right? Added extra protection. You can use a bathtub. A lot of people do. You can grab a mattress and throw it on top of you. If you got time, you have plenty of warning. Say, for example, you got the kids. We put sporting gear on them. They have helmets, pads, that kind of stuff to protect them from any flying debris. So all those are safety things you can do anytime here in the state when we're dealing with tornadoes. Now, nighttime, obviously, at 4 o'clock in the morning, when they roll through your area, that's going to be tough to do, right? You're going to be half awake at that point in time. So in that case, you kind of go to bed with a plan to the family. Okay, what are we going to do tonight? Okay, kids, if I wake you up at 4 o'clock in the morning, where are we going? And you just have that little conversation, and that's it. And you go there. meet me in the bathroom. Sarah's bathroom over there. 4 o'clock in the morning, if the tornado warning goes off, don't wait for me to get you out of bed. So, but anyway, so you can have those kind of discussions, kind of get prepared, and then, like I said, these should be pretty weak, kind of fast moving, and not last very long, transitory. So that's if you're going to deal with tornadoes, a lot of times that's the good news. Get the weak ones, right? You don't want the big ones. Okay, so let me look here. Speaking of which, let me go see how our friends in Kansas are doing before I sign off on this particular tornado warned storm. Haven't looked at a tornado warned storm, and I couldn't tell you when. Gosh, it's been last time we had one. Well, actually, we did have one in the fall. We did have one day, I think, where we had a couple of tornadoes. But as far as like a big, event, we didn't have a whole lot of those, but it's definitely in the spring. Okay, so this one, let's see here. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4 miles south of Sitka, Kansas. So it'll be passing to the southeast side of town, passing over 183. Probability of a tornado has dropped down to 34%. Once it gets past this little bow here at 183, it'll head up toward the intersection of 183. What's the polygon? Round Protection, little town there. If it even holds together that long. The data on it, the tightness of the circulation is already weakened. So it had a couple of good scans where it was tight right here. In this little triangle you see on the map, the red and greens kind of touched each other. And then after that it opened up and it's gone. So that's kind of the way that one goes. So it's kind of, it's not very stable. Kind of forms and dissipates. So one down here in the Texas Panhandle, same idea, kind of a broad rotation, nothing tight. So they'll keep a tornado warning on it anyway, just in case it does tighten up at some point, like this one did here briefly. But it's kind of the way it goes. Okay, so you guys, of course, be in your shelters when those tornado warnings do affect you, obviously. So make sure you do that. Rest of the state's quiet tonight, and storms is just now getting going. The rest of the Texas Panhandle out here. Let's go down here. So around Pampa, Wheeler, so we'll see more of these storms develop in the eastern Texas Panhandle, and those will move east. And then while I've been on this, doing this for the last 30 minutes, giving you all these updates, a new tornado watch was issued during this time for the western and southwestern part of the state here in the yellow box. That does not include Oklahoma City. It goes all the way to Chickasha, and that's the only county included close to Oklahoma City for at least that town. And then does it come up to, yeah, it does get Minko, Tuttle, Amber. That's about it. So it doesn't actually cover the immediate Oklahoma City metro area, just kind of just south and west of town. And of course that'll go on for the early morning hours for these storms that do develop, which have not quite done so yet, but they're working on it out here in the eastern Texas Panhandle. So let's see. Let me see what I can do. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have 3 separate watches. These little red boxes here for the eastern Texas Panhandle and the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then southwestern Kansas, northwestern Oklahoma, and this last one here for southwestern Oklahoma. All right. Let's see. No, let's see, wording there. Here we go. Counties. This goes through till 4 o'clock in the morning. All right, well, that's the storms will be rolling into the Oklahoma City metro by then, so they'll have to either extend it before then, or they'll have to either cancel it or extend it, or issue another one. So there'll have to be some kind of decision made because the storms are already past this edge by 4 o'clock in the morning, so they'll have to figure something out. But there you go. There's those other storms developing back here in the Panhandle. Just now kind of, they're actually going up pretty quick. It's pretty good change in time. All right, so on the probability of tornadoes themselves, they have what they call a moderate risk of 2 or more tornadoes. So the probability of 2 or more tornadoes is moderate, which is 40% probability. Probability of 1 or more strong tornado, EF2 to EF5, is low. It's only 20%. I'm actually surprised it's even that high. It's pretty low. Wind is in the moderate category, hail is in the low probability category. So that's how they break down that particular watch. Now, I'm assuming the other watches are similar in their discussion. So let's see. Let's go to those other ones. All right. Let's see. They had the probability of 2 or more tornadoes on moderate, but only 30% up in northwest Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas. Only a 10% probability of the EF2 tornado. And then same thing for wind and hail, 20 to 30%. And then so that's it for Oklahoma for those two. And then I guess I might as well just do eastern Texas Panhandle, see where you guys are at. All right, their probability is the same idea. 30% moderate for 2 or more, low 10% for a stronger one, and then the wind and hail both in the 20s and 30s. So pretty identical watches for the most part in that area out to our west. All right, I'm trying to think. That's probably about it. So my plan is not to be covering these tonight because I actually have to sleep. I know it's terrible, right? We all have to sleep, but that's why I encourage you to use that's what I'm going to do. Use the No Weather Radio, have my weather app, and so that way I'll be notified, and then have a plan. So I'll tell Jody, I said, hey, if we hear that siren or any of these things go off, this is where we're going to go until the storm passes. So we'll see how things go tonight. Hopefully it won't be that significant of an event. And then we'll be done with this severe weather season because after that it's winter, and winter is going to be here for a while. So we're going to shut it down after tonight. So that's the latest I got for you. So thanks for watching, sharing, and liking this video with your friends and family, and your comments on social media outlets. So I appreciate you tuning in there. And I guess we'll turn it off for the night. You guys be safe, and you know what to do. And we'll talk again soon. Take care, everybody.